did a video last night on post-salary cap versus pre-salary cap. And is post-salary cap really parity? I don't know that it is. And it's a subject I intend to continue to talk about. But there was one comment that kind of caught me. I've heard it before. Without a salary cap, the Chicago Blackhawks would have been able to just keep that team together and win 5 or 6 Stanley Cups. This is an image from their first Stanley Cup. Cup repeat chances hurt by cap, right next to, there he is. Key departures: Dustin Byfuglien, John Madden, Christopher Stieg, Brent Sopel, Andrew Ladd, and Ben Eager. The names that stand out there: Andrew Ladd, Dustin Byfuglien. Here's the thing. They added Stolberg, Jeff Tafe, John Scott, Ivan Vishnevsky, and Niemi as their starter and Huey as the backup. Their top 10 prospects were headed by Jack Skilly, who just went to the KHL. Jeremy Morin, Nick Leddy's number 4. Oh hey, a spot opened up on the blue line for him. Corey Crawford, Kyle Beach, never made it. Marcus Kruger, pretty good player. Dylan Olsen, Sean Lalonde, who's never made it, and Philip Paradis. So why mention this? See, Chicago was kind of screwed not only by the cap but by the issue they had with the contracts being in on time. They restricted free agents, so they became unrestricted, I believe it was. They didn't give them qualifying offers, so because they didn't. Anyways, there was some paperwork mess up, and as a result, these guys were owed a lot more money than they would have been otherwise. And these things happen, I guess. I'll go ahead and say these things happen because whatever, but that did play a large role in what happened with them being pulled apart. But here's my issue. The salary cap ends dynasties. Not really. Expansion ended dynasties. After expansion, the one that started with San Jose and ended with Columbus and Minnesota, it was really hard to have a dynasty in a league of 30 teams. And now it's 31 teams, so it gets a little bit harder. Salary cap, it influences it? Not a lot. But then the question becomes, well, what if Chicago had an unlimited cap? They'd still have Dustin Byfuglien. They wouldn't still have Andrew Ladd, I don't think. But for me, when I look back at the old eras in hockey, the one I remember from the 80s, and the previous ones from the 60s and 70s, and before that, dynasties help define those generations. There's a mystique that's missing from hockey, and the Pittsburgh Penguins are flirting with it right now. And if they win another Stanley Cup and they become a dynasty, does that hurt that argument? Does that hurt the salary cap's in place to make sure that one team can't dominate the league? The Oilers won 5 cups out of 7. They shot themselves in the foot with one of those 7. And then there was the post-Gretzky hangover that was the other year between 88 and 90. In a salary cap era, I think the Oilers win 2 Stanley Cups. What do you lose? I think hockey's lost some of its mystique. The funny part is, it really depends on your point of view, doesn't it? Like, if you're a Chicago Blackhawks fan, and what I'm saying right here is, they probably should have had 4 or 5 Stanley Cups. Blackhawks fans like, oh yeah, we should have. If you're not a Blackhawks fan, you're like, screw them. We don't want them to have a Stanley Cup and another Stanley Cup and another Stanley Cup. If you're better than your peers at something, should you lose? Think of it this way. You got 30 men tasked with the same job. One of them does a really damn good job. Really does. Top to bottom does a fantastic job. Do you cut him off at the knees so that the other guys feel better about themselves? No. And that's kind of what the salary cap does. If you draft really well and you pick up superstar players, those guys are going to want superstar money. You have to lose them. You can't have too many superstars on one team. And there's fans out there saying, yep, nope, can't have too many superstars on one team. Nope. You do your job too well, you got to be penalized. I don't get it. And I get the salary cap. I get that the salary cap has saved certain teams from being moved or dissolved. And the dreaded contraction word being mentioned, even though I don't think it would hurt the league to contract by a couple of teams. Sorry, but I don't think it would hurt. And I'm not, don't go into the comment section below and mention all these teams that, well, we should start here. Because it's not happening. I kind of miss dynasties. I kind of do. I hated seeing Pittsburgh win this June. I hated it. It drove me nuts. I was so pissed off. And if they win again next June, I'll be really pissed off again. You know what? That's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. The Oilers dynasty was frustrating to watch as a guy who wasn't cheering for the Oilers. But man, when your team was up against the Oilers, there was that mystique. There was that belief that, wow, we're up against the champs. We're up against the best. And now, you don't have that as much. And I guess that's why when people try to shoehorn the word dynasty in and around what the Hawks did or what the Kings did, and you try to say, well, now we need to redefine it, you're also redefining the mystique because it's not there. I don't think the salary cap's the reason why. I don't think the salary cap has anything to do with the Kings not winning another Stanley Cup. They won 2 and they're done. I think not having a salary cap, I think they'd be in a worse position. Because I think they would have gone out and got more high-priced older talent to try to get them back to that cup. As the Rangers did in the early 2000s, and it just didn't work. The Blackhawks drafted extremely well. They made some very shrewd trades. Right free agent signings. And they couldn't keep it together. And I just find it weird that people think that's fine. It's not a problem. They shouldn't be allowed. Well, why not? If I have the nicest garden on the block, it's not like some people go, your garden's making that garden look terrible. We're going to go ahead and weed whack about 6 of these flowers out of here because you're just making everybody... This is the 4th year in a row you've had the best looking garden on the block. Is that ridiculous? Yep. So is the idea that just because one team's better than everybody else at certain aspects of the game, they should be penalized and not allowed to win anymore because somebody else should get a chance, damn it. You let Winnipeg have all your players. You know what? Give the leftovers to Carolina. You do it. It's ridiculous. It's weird. It's weird. And it's the other comment, and a comment I made last night too, where somebody said this was, you don't know what would have happened. We don't know if Byfuglien and Ladd had stayed in Chicago that they would have won a Stanley Cup again the next year. All we know is that losing those guys affected their chances of repeating. They could have won another Stanley Cup. They could have flopped in the first round as they did. But they were in Game 7 in overtime against the Canucks, and they were that close to pulling off a miraculous comeback. And I still think that if they had pulled off that comeback in 2011 against the Canucks, coming back from 3-0 down in both games and in Game 7, if they had pulled off that upset, I still think they would have won that Stanley Cup. And right now we'd be talking about the dynasty that's the Blackhawks, even though the salary cap penalized them. Does that change if Byfuglien's in that lineup? Does that change if Ladd's in that lineup? The sad thing is, because of the cap, you'll never know. So we're just left to speculate. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I apologize for any hate that I've aroused in others. I'm not sure that I understand penalizing a team for doing things better than another team, because that's essentially what it is. So again, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through, and thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.